The State Department appears to be venturing into the VPN business, all in the name of free speech. According to a report from Reuters, the U.S. State Department is developing an online web portal that would enable people across the world to see content that has been banned by their government.
That would include banned content like alleged hate speech and terrorist propaganda. It comes as U.S. officials have repeatedly denounced EU policies that they claim are suppressing conservative voices online. According to Reuters, the department views the move as a way to counter censorship abroad and was expected to be unveiled at last week's security conference in Munich, but was delayed. The site will reportedly be hosted at freedom.gov, and officials have reportedly been discussing a virtual private network function to make the user's traffic appear to originate from the United States.
It's still unclear when they say the launch will actually happen, but there are some concerns that the move could strain relationships with European allies by encouraging citizens there to circumvent local laws. And of course, there are privacy concerns. Officials, for their part, insist the activity on the site will not be tracked.
I actually love this for a number of reasons. For people in China who are looking for content that is not just Chinese Communist Party propaganda, this could be an opportunity for them to do that without their government being able to track what they're doing. Could certainly help the protesters in Hong Kong. And then turning our attention more towards Western civilization, we have in the EU massive censorship restrictions on social media where people can be thrown in jail for tweets criticizing mass migration. And this has literally happened. Journalists who have criticized mass migration have traveled to London and been picked up in Heathrow Airport and detained over tweets that they've sent. And so I think anything that the US can do to demonstrate its commitment to freedom of speech around the globe is really important.
I completely disagree because I think we talked about the fact that our relationship with our allies. We talked about Marco Rubio and his strategy overseas versus AOC, and we talked about what my perspective is how we treat Greenland and how we've been, overly treating Europe as an adversary in the same way that we treat China. And so the direct implication of some of this is to tell Europe, which is our ally, that we're backdooring some of their laws that they have on the books. So they block illegal hate speech. That's the law of their land. That's the law of their country. They block terrorist propaganda. This is stuff that they have implemented. So for us to provide an outlet saying we don't care about what you guys want, and we would not want anybody doing that to America. So for us to say we don't care what you guys got have going on over there, we want you to use our portal. We're going to make sure they can't track you, and you should get involved in any way you can. Just because really we know that a lot of these huge social media companies don't like the laws that are in Europe. And so a lot of this you have to think, well, is this connected to that in some way that they can have more activity on these social sites in a variety of ways as opposed to how they were being banned in certain European countries. So there could be money ties to this. And we know that a lot of the social media leaders have cozied up a lot to the president. So as much as I do understand there are a lot of extremely repressed countries that would benefit from this use, I think Europe is taking this extremely personally
They
and
should.
looking at this
They
and
should.
saying,
They've
but
been
we can't change
censoring
their
citizens.
we
They
can't
should.
change their laws though. We're not European leaders. So for
But we can
President
give
Trump
their
and to
people an
go,
opportunity who are and frankly, like I know Europe wants to pretend they're like so high and mighty and they're so enlightened compared to repressive governments like China, but what they are doing to their citizens is actually disgusting. They are literally telling them that if they criticize the policies of this is not about terrorist propaganda. They are telling their citizens that if they criticize government policies that they could be thrown in jail. They literally created a cartoon game for children to play that warns them that if they criticize mass migration online that they could be accused of domestic terrorism. That is unacceptable, and we should not allow our allies to get away with that. They are repressing their own citizens and acting like they're a true Western democracy.
so
Free speech is a fundamental principle of a Western democracy.
So what if Europe comes over here and says, "Hey, you guys are repressing free speech also. You guys have a fundamental right to protest. That's freedom of speech in your country. And what you're doing with the ICE officers and two people, Americans dying."
Nobody's told them
Well,
they can't protest.
well, I
They'd
know.
be wrong.
No, well, I'm saying, what if they come over here and tell us how they want to change our policies in
Well,
regards
guess
to
what? Well,
what's happening over here?
here's the
We
thing
wouldn't
with
want to
it.
hear that.
Well, that's because we actually have way more leverage over them because we give much more to them than they give to us. This is
So
not an equal
bullying.
partnership. Yeah, we should bully our allies because we give them way more money, we give them way more access to industry, they tariff our businesses, and then they turn around and beg us to help them with their security with Russia and Ukraine We basically funded the entire Ukraine war while they sat there and twiddled their thumbs and criticized the way that we were doing it. Like, buzz off.
I
You
mean, do
don't
we
get
have
to
no
tell us
benefit
that.
of being in NATO? I mean, we have all these partners around the world that protect us from a lot of our biggest adversaries. Why would we not benefit from
The
making sure that they're
benefit
all
to us is
secure?
much lower than the benefit to all of those European countries. I mean, Denmark doesn't even have a top 10 military in the in all of Europe, and yet they're telling us that they don't worry, we've got Greenland under control. Like, give me a break. These people are so ridiculous. All they do is talk smack about the US when we have given them so much over really the existence of our nation. And then they want to sit there and repress their citizens and try to throw our big tech leaders in jail after all of the innovation that they've done. Oh, by the way, also on most favored nation drug pricing, they get to have access to our innovative drug research and new pharmaceuticals, but they don't want to actually pay for the research and development. So they get all of these new treatments for $70 a pop, and we're stuck paying $1,000 a month for the exact same thing because it's our companies, our innovators, our researchers, our academics who are actually creating these things. So this is not a two-way street with our allies, and I think that they need to be put on notice.
I just think, I mean, Trump has touted Denmark, for example, as one of the best places. He'd love more migrants to come from Denmark, right? He praises that. Let's just use that as an example. And I believe Denmark has some of the most strict policies when it comes to social media and children. And so, again, some people that would be impacted by having this VPN access with nobody be able to oversee who's doing it would be children also. So example in Denmark would be the policy where they don't want kids on social media apps that are underage. We kind of have no control over it. Young kids, you're supposed to be 13 years old to be on some of these things, still on them. And they're blocking it, and then we're allowing, oh, here's the VPN, just go ahead and get on social media. It's like,
Well,
I don't see
you
how
can't,
this is not going to be a blanket solution.
I mean, you can create a profile on a place like Facebook or Instagram with the VPN if you're under 13 because you have to prove your age, right?
Do you have to prove your age to get on
On
TikTok?
Instagram,
Well, not. I'm talking. Well, there's
yeah.
plenty of young kids that I actually know that are on TikTok. I don't know how they're proving age. You just type it in. You say what age you are. It's not like they're asking you for your ID.
Well, Instagram does, but look, I think the reality is that whether the U.S. government is providing the VPN, there are plenty of private VPN companies that already make that possible. But the real important thing here is that the people who want access to politically dissident content in their home nations, but can't do it for fear of being thrown in jail by their government, whether it's China or the UK, I think it's great for the US to show its commitment to one of the fundamental principles of a democracy, which is the ability to think and speak freely, and say, we actually want to provide that opportunity for our allies as well.
I mean, we're gonna keep talking about this, but I just think like we can't lump Europe and China together. They're two totally different
I'm
places.
not saying it's the same severity, but what they are doing functionally is censorship. And so they can pretend that they're better than China. But if you're throwing people in jail for criticizing government policy, you are functionally doing the same thing. And maybe it's not as serious. Maybe the person doesn't get killed for doing it. But if you are locking people up for tweets with political opinions, like, sorry, that's not acceptable to me.
All right. We'll have more to talk about on Rising. Stay with us.